Dangerous situation continues now with Western Mass News reporter Olivia Hickey. She's taking a closer look at the protocols and safety measures in place for officers each time they pull over a vehicle.
Chris, after today's traffic stop ended with one state trooper sent to the hospital, we took a look at local police departments' policies and procedures for when an officer pulls someone over. Friday afternoon, a Massachusetts state trooper was struck and dragged by a car. They were trying to stop on the northbound side of I-91 near the rest stop in Holyoke. According to police, as the driver fled the scene, the trooper was able to get free of the vehicle, sustaining non-life-threatening injuries. The suspect then crashed his car shortly after and ran into some nearby woods. We wanted to know the proper proceedings for a traffic stop, so we checked in with the Amherst Police Department. Here's what we learned. When stopping a traffic violator, each situation is individual, and sound judgment must be used for safety. When a vehicle is being stopped, officers activate their lights and should leave enough space between the vehicle being stopped and their cruiser. Before an officer gets out of the cruiser, they alert dispatch of their location. If the driver gets out of the car, they should be told to return to it. When addressing the violator, officers should be professional and use a greeting such as, "Good morning, afternoon, or evening. My name is Officer Blank with the Amherst Police Department," and then explain the reason the person was pulled over. After the officer gathers needed information, they will make appropriate enforcement. Officers should also warn the driver to use caution when returning to traffic, and the officer should wait for the violator to return to traffic if possible. As for a high-risk stop, such as when the violator is known to be a felon or a serious threat to the officer or public, cruiser lights remain on, and at night, all lights illuminate the stopped car. If the vehicle is stopped for a serious felony, officers should instruct the vehicle to be turned off and keys dropped to the ground. Officers should instruct occupants to keep their hands in plain sight on top of their heads and wait for assistance unless it's urgent. The suspect in today's incident on 91 was taken into custody around 5:30 p.m. after an hours-long search. We will continue to provide you the latest details on air, online, and on the Western Mass News app. Reporting in studio, I'm Olivia Hickey for Western Mass News.